everyone. I am Gretchen Mullen-Savitsky, the president at NHTI Concord Community College, and I'd like to welcome you to the Fall 2021 Convocation. I'd like to start off by appreciating and recognizing the Indigenous people who actually inhabited the land that NHTI stands on. This convocation takes place on the Ndakina, which is the traditional ancestral homeland of the Abenaki, the Pennacook, and Wabanaki peoples, past and present. So of course we acknowledge and we honor with gratitude the land and waterways of the people who have stewarded Ndakina throughout the generations. This ceremony marks a special place in your academic careers because it is truly the first official beginning of your education at NHTI. Convocation at NHTI is about welcoming you into the college and your academic programs. Convocation is about inspiration, connection, and new beginnings. As you start your education at NHTI, we want to make sure that you know how much we care about you and your success. It is our goal to support your learning, your engagement with the NHTI community, and your educational needs. Convocation is the first of two bookends. It is the opening of the book, while graduation is the closing of the book or beginning a new chapter in your education. Today should be a day that you keenly remember, as it is an introduction to your path of becoming nurses or dental hygienists, architects, engineers, teachers, business leaders or owners, or even counselors. Today marks a beginning, and beginnings are always full of excitement, fear, thrill, and nervous energy. So enjoy the full plate of emotions today, and know that we are just as excited, thrilled, and anxious for you, for your success here at NHTI. So enjoy the convocation and know that you absolutely belong here. We are here for you. Today we are actually very excited to announce that Amanda Griponi, Osmer, is going to be our keynote speaker. She's going to be focusing on mindfulness as we look at how to emerge stronger from this pandemic. So we are really thrilled that she's going to be here sharing her wisdom with you today. Today we will acknowledge students and faculty in 6 academic programs: the arts, humanities, communication and design, business programs, health sciences and services, hospitality and culinary, social, educational, and behavioral sciences, science, technology, engineering, and math. And of course, we also acknowledge our non-matriculated students who are still determining which educational paths they want to embark on. So congratulations, students, faculty, staff, and administration, to today's new beginning, and welcome to the Fall 2021 Convocation Ceremony.
Hi everyone, my name is Gabe Gardner and this is my second year here at NHTI. I am a math major and I am also the treasurer of the Student Senate. I am also an RA over at South Hall. I have found that starting at college in a pandemic was very difficult for me to get involved in my school community. Through connections with my professors through online classes, I got involved in some clubs that they do with my major, the math team, and through that I made connections to other clubs such as the Student Senate, and through those connections I was able to become more involved in the school community to where I am today. And that's why I urge, particularly this class coming into NHTI, to take the opportunities that present themselves and just get involved in the school community however you can. It's very important to your college experience that you take and participate in whatever opportunities come your way, and to just become active in the school community, because that's really at the heart of what builds a college experience. And so I urge you that with the opportunities that you can take here at NHTI, through all the clubs that are there, and even if you want to start your own club, there are pathways to do so, that you'll really set yourself up for future success by doing so, by participating where you can and practicing those leadership skills. You will set yourself up for long-term and future success. I would now like to introduce our keynote speaker, Amanda Griponi Osmer, and her team. Osmer is the fourth generation in her family to help own and operate Griponi Automotive, a group of 5 new car dealerships, a wholesale parts operation, and a collision center in Bow, New Hampshire. Team Griponi operates in a learning environment in which the whole person is fostered with the end goal of building lifelong relationships by serving with integrity, kindness, and respect. When Osmer took the helm at Griponi, she made a major change to the way that it does business. She was always uncomfortable with a sales model that pitted the customer against the business, with confrontation being the style of business, and the only way to win was if the customer lost. Her focus is on the customer and the meaningful connections that she makes with them. Osmer is invested in the Greater Concord community and serves on the board of the New Hampshire Public Broadcasting Service, Canterbury Shaker Village, the Endowment for Health, and Partners for Community Wellness. She was awarded the 2020 Robert Frost Contemporary American Award. Please welcome Amanda Griponi Osmer and her team, who show us how to emerge stronger through mindfulness.
Hi, my name is Amanda Griponi Osmer. I'm one of the owners at Griponi Automotive, which if you are local to the Concord area, you may recognize the name. It's a family business that's just about 100 years old now. It's 97 years this year, and my great-grandparents started it. And I'm here, very grateful to be here. Sorry we couldn't be with you in person, but with 4 of my team members, who I'll introduce in just a moment. But what we wanted to talk to you today about was, as we launch into this new semester and a lot of things are still unsure in the world around us, I was asked to share something that has been meaningful and useful for us and all of us in all departments at Griponi Automotive. And it occurred to me pretty quickly, the mindful communication course that all of us have taken through Dan Houston, who teaches here at NHTI, is actually the #1 thing that I can think to share back with you in terms of things that you might need in your toolbox to be able to move forward successfully this year. So with all that said, I'll give you a brief history of my company, but more importantly, I want to introduce the stars of the show. And our company, as I mentioned, is Griponi Automotive, and my great-grandparents started it back in 1924. It was just a single gas station. If you know Concord at all, it's right across from where the bowling alley is now. It's currently a Rite Aid, which most things are. That used to be something else. So we have grown quite a bit over the years. We have about 340 folks who work at Griponi at the moment. And we have 5 different new car franchises. We have a used car operation. We do a lot of things that on the surface of it might not tip you off to the fact that just underneath the surface, we're actually looking at things like mindful communication. So I'd like to introduce Crystal Corey. She has been with us for 3.5 years. She's a product specialist, which means she's on the sales floor helping people find cars for themselves. Andre Seeley has been with us for 22 years, despite her youthful appearance. She has actually worked at Griponi 22 years. We'll get to this in a little bit. Her husband also works at Griponi and has also taken the mindful communication class. And then Dave Stickney has been with us for 8 years. He's a team leader at our Mazda store. And Joe Tinker is a master certified technician, aka mechanic, and he's been with Griponi for 28 years. So we're going to get going just by, by starting the question, because I think a lot of you may have it. When somebody says mindfulness, what does that even mean? So Crystal, I'm going to turn this to you. Before you took this mindful communication class, did you have a concept in mind of what does mindfulness even mean?
Yeah, I thought I had a pretty good understanding of it. Actually, I thought that mindfulness meant being aware of your surroundings and other people, and being mindful of how you interacted with them. But I really felt it was more of an external thing of awareness.
Does that ring true with anybody else?
Yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
Yes, definitely. I think for me, in taking the class, it definitely instilled more of a intentional practice for me.
To me, it was like thinking before you speak, and it was so much more than that when you get into it. So I thought I had an idea, and then it's more of an everyday, every conversation piece that we now use, and it's not just in the moment, one-on-one with somebody. It's with a group of people, and it's by yourself as well. So.
And I would say one thing I think that may be misinformation kind of populating the general thought process around mindfulness is that it's some sort of religion, or you have to be or do something weird and that's not appropriate for the workplace to do it. So hopefully through the course of our discussion, it will become clear it is a tool. It's really a tool. So I would love to know, after you've taken the mindfulness class, now how would you define mindfulness?
A consistent journey within. Always kind of being aware of what you're feeling, how also externally things are influencing you, but really understanding how you're feeling, how, and as Dave said, thinking before you speak, but it's deeper than that as far as understanding why those thoughts are happening and being able to quiet them and still be productive.
And one thing I think that was, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but this, when I first started trying to practice mindful meditation, I thought I was doing something wrong because all I could do was think about things I wasn't supposed to be thinking about. And I think that's very much a common sort of early phase of mindfulness, not problem, but observation. And now when I hear people say that, I say, that's great. That means you're doing it exactly the right way. Because when you notice that you're thinking is when mindfulness actually has begun. Otherwise, it's just a nonstop flow of thoughts all day long that if you're not tapping in to see what you're thinking and how it's affecting you, you can't do anything with it. It's just more noise, like white noise and junk kind of in your head. So thank you for that. Andre, you have a very unique perspective. We mentioned your husband, Jeremy, is not only your husband, he's your coworker. Yep. And he's been through the mindful communication training. So at home, at work, do you have any stories you can share about how that's affected you?
Yeah, so I feel like I truly am the lucky one that, I got to go through it first, and then he actually went through the training. At first, when I would get home, it was almost hard to articulate what it was that I was experiencing. I was so excited after every class, and I think sometimes he was just not following. And so it made it a little bit hard to share that experience. And so once I knew that there was another class coming, I really pushed him to apply, because I told him, I said, I'm telling you, you will not be sorry. And for him, he was a little reluctant at first, not because he didn't want to do it. It was just like, how do I take one more thing on right now? And I will never forget the reaction. He did join. He took my advice. He got home from their first overnight stay and walked in the house, put his arms up, and he's like, I get it now. I'm in. I am all in. And I remember saying, I think I said, I told you so. But then was like, yes, like that's what it's all about. And I think together, both personally and professionally, it has definitely helped us. We have 2 girls that we raise. We're listening more and responding better. And we can actually call each other out a little bit, like when we're not maybe the most mindful, and that's okay. I really think that's what makes mindfulness a little bit beautiful, is that there is that gentleness, that it doesn't have to be perfect, that that you can just kind of be better and continue on from there. So yeah, for us, it has definitely been truly, truly special.
Thank you. And I think you make a good point too about being able to call each other out, because often, imagine you're in a work environment, and obviously we all get along very well. We've had a lot of experience and time to develop these relationships, but if you're new to a job, or maybe you work with colleagues who aren't necessarily the warm and touchy-feely type, how is it that you deliver feedback in a way that's meaningful, that they can get the message that needs to be sent, and that you feel good about how it's sent? So I think the mindful communication has really helped all of us. I mean, we're in different departments and different stores. We don't all work in the same building together. So it's likely that Crystal maybe never would have met Joe, because he's at Ford Mazda and she's at Toyota. So they may have perhaps had shared a cheeseburger or something at a barbecue, but how can you get to know each other? And when she has a technical question, maybe he's the first person now she can reach out to, because they do have that shared language of how to give feedback, how to understand the workplace and other challenges. And let's face it, after COVID, during COVID, after COVID, what we're experiencing now, we can't get enough tools in our toolbox to be able to be nicer and kinder to ourselves and people around us. Patience right now is a pretty key thing to develop. And I have found personally that the mindful communication has helped me to be patient with people, because rather than just immediately go with the emotion that I'm experiencing, if somebody does or doesn't do something I want, let's just say they don't do what I want. Okay, maybe I can now slow down, take what I've learned through the mindful communication class, and actually understand from their perspective what's happening in their world, what's their thought process that they, and especially if they haven't been exposed to mindfulness, they don't have these same tools that I do. So I feel more compassion, I guess, for people who just are reacting all day long. So another unique experience, Dave actually went through the class, the same section of class with his supervisor. So that was a first for us. That was really interesting to observe, to see how does the dynamic change between somebody who reports to somebody else. So I know you have at least one story you can share.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key for us was open and honest communication. We're complete opposites in the workplace and outside. So communicating at the start was extremely difficult for us. And it really started after our first class. We kind of pulled each other aside and had that one-on-one time and simply aired everything out, what our thoughts were, what our preconceived notions were, and really had a heart-to-heart conversation. Throughout the class, we continued to do that. That was a practice that we do daily now. He comes and checks on me every once in a while, pulls me aside just to have a conversation. I think that, active listening was huge for us, just simply listening to the other person and what their thoughts were, and trying to help them and not putting your thoughts or into theirs, going along with what they're saying and just adding small tidbits to it instead of completely just putting it down and coming up with a whole new solution. So now he's somebody that I go to for help. And it's, not usually a long conversation, and it doesn't need to be anymore because we know how to talk to each other. And, I ask for help and he gives me that feedback. And now, with the open and honest communication, I, trust him and believe, that he's really there to help me. So, it's really helped us grow in a way that we can collaborate now and we can talk and make things better for everybody, not just for ourselves. So it changed dramatically, and it's still to this day.
That's great. And one thing that as you were talking, it reminded me of one of the things that we say a lot. It's not through the mindful communication program, but it's definitely worth sharing. It's something we picked up from Brene Brown's work, which is the story I'm making up is the story I'm making up in my head. And oftentimes in the workplace, we can easily make up stories. If somebody has an interaction with you and it doesn't go the way you expected, you don't actually know why they behave that way, but you can certainly make up a quick story to justify why your version is correct. So as you're talking, it occurs to me, Dave, that we have, and probably hundreds of times a day, the opportunity to stop making up a story and to actively listen to what's actually happening, and then take it from there, because that often changes the trajectory of a conversation. Instead of just having that internal communication with yourself, you actually build the ability to ask that person what they were thinking, where they were trying to go with it. You learn, as you grow with that person, but you also have the ability now to understand, okay, so what's a question I can ask them that leads us to, what they meant. It just, my biggest thing was, open-ended questions, leading with that and trying to get the true meaning, and that's where we are. And it helps at home too, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. That's a theme you'll see throughout. Whatever we say, just apply at home at the end, and it's also true. So Joe Tinker, I'm going to let you close us out. I think that when most people think of someone who has spent his life turning a wrench, working as a tech in an automotive repair shop, they might not necessarily think of the practice of mindful communication. Can you give us some insight into how what you've learned has affected how you work with your colleagues?
Sure. So for me, obviously I work on cars all day. My interaction with people is probably a lot less than everybody else here. So with that in mind, For me, having gone through this program, it's probably 80% at home, 20 or 30% at work, right around there. So on the work side, this company has always had a really good culture, in my opinion. And when I started out in this business, I went to like 3 other dealerships, including and spent some time at this one before I came back. And I've been here ever since. So one of the things that stuck me during one of our conversations during the course, when you're making decisions, you need to set back the company's interests a little bit. You need to make a decision based on what's best for the customer versus what might be best for you because you don't have the time to do something, or you feel you don't have the time or the tools to do something right, or you're thinking the company wouldn't like it if I did it this way. You've got to set those aside, put the customer first. I know it's an old story, we've all heard it, but being mindful in the moment when you're making those decisions, it helps. At the end of the day, you want a customer who's all set. It feels good about what they've got, feels good about the process, everything like that. And if the company or yourself, if you're putting those first, you might not get that. And that plays into every aspect, I'm sure, sales and everything else. So the other half of it, the home part, using this program in my home life has been very beneficial. Conversations are not so much headbutting as sorting things out when it comes to things like that. Instead of making statements, you start off with, I feel this way. And what you said there, made me feel like that. And this is why I feel the way I do. It's much easier to sort things out and come to a better conclusion. And, things are just better.
So what strikes me as you're talking is that we have such an array of different experiences and lengths of time with the company here. Crystal being, the day one she started, it's like, give me more, what can I do? What else can I do? And then Joe, who's been here for quite a long time. So for all of these different folks to raise their hands and say, I know there's more, I'm not entirely sure what it is, but help me to develop that. I have a lot of just respect for all of you. Thank you so much for showing up every single day. It's not easy. It's hard enough to be in retail, let's face it. It's hard enough to be in retail during COVID. And then on top of that, last year for you all to take on the challenge of really going deep and trying to remove your own barriers from whatever's getting in the way of you being a better leader and a better person. So for me, that's kind of a nice way to kind of put a bow on it, I guess. And just to say, the thing that I remember most from Dan Houston when he has taught this class, because I've taken it 3 times now, I go through it every year with a different team, and I'm about to start the 4th next week. I think the thing that sticks out the most for me is when he says, this moment has never happened before, and it will never happen again. So choose wisely. And I thank you all very much for your attention. I thank you all for being here today. And I wish you the best this semester. And if possible, try to shoehorn in that mindful communication class here at NHTI, because it honestly, it changes lives. It does wonderful things. So thank you all. Have a great year.